big thing. You know, we are definitely digital. Most of you live on your phones. You know, if you listen to Gary Vee, if you just look around the room, most people still live on phones. If you look around campus, most people live on phones. If you go out for lunch or dinner, people are stuck on their phones. So it means that the touch point for us as corporations has switched not only just to face-and-face, but also to your phone as well. So you need to know both. Because the phone is never going to replace human contact, and jobs will change because of AI and blockchain. They're going to start to move into a different kind of sphere of tech backed up by human touch. So anything you can learn on artificial intelligence, again, Google have some courses on DeepMind. IBM Watson is a good place to start, just to have an understanding of what it does, so when you go for an interview, you can sit there with a recruiter and actually speak their language. It's a really big issue. More importantly, you need something on your CV first, just so it gets up through the ranks. Otherwise, it just never gets ranked at all. So think about some of the things that you've probably heard of. You know, if you're talking to a corporation, there's a good chance there's a chatbot running it and they're not speaking to a human. Chatbots will get to the point where soon they will actually be equal to humans. They'll have empathy, they'll have the ability to understand exactly what you're saying and have this understanding of language as well. Dynamic pricing, think about search engines when you go online, start booking tickets. They're smart enough now to know how many times you've been in there, and they can track your IP. And yes, you can try and hack and move your IP to a different part of the world via a VPN, but dynamic pricing is coming in where you will get one price versus someone else. But on the flip side, it also means for you guys as consumers, you get an understanding of how pricing actually works in the real world. So you do pricing here, and then you look at how pricing changes in the real world dynamically. Ad targeting, so not just where you log onto a site and there's a ad that's pretty close to you. We are talking about one-to-one ad targeting, like the Minority Report that you would have seen with Tom Cruise years ago. That is about 5 years away, they believe, where you have your set of glasses, augmented reality, you will be walking down the street, and the only things that you'll see on billboards will be the ads that directly target you. And you'll love it because it'll be stuff that you're interested in. It won't be buy something that you have no interest in ever buying, right? Because for you guys, brands get about 3 chances, and then you never want to speak to a brand again. At the same time, you get hit with so many ads that you probably don't even remember what you saw walking in. So companies are spending all this money. There's no data in the kind of physical world, so they're starting to move to the digital world, and now they're trying to work out how do we combine both, where we can actually do that. And then again, we still have access to your phone, so we can geo-tag you. Anything where the ability to recognize language, so don't forget, yes, English is the current language of the world. That might change in the future. So a good understanding of, say, different languages as well. Chinese is quite good. Learn Mandarin or Cantonese, at least learn something. And learn also not just language, but learn culture, because culture is a really big part of how people communicate. And then also learn company culture, because company culture is totally different to kind of people culture. So each company has its own culture. You will never change that culture of the company unless you are the CEO. The culture is set at the top. I'm assuming you guys did Culture Shine, hopefully somewhere along the way, and I'm pretty sure you would have. It may not have stuck because a lot of students go into short-term memory and cram for exams, and there's something called the cone of learning, and after 2 weeks you forget everything. So the problem is when you do that, you walk into a job kind of recruitment system and they go, here's a case, 3 hours, solve it, tell us what to do. And you don't have Wikipedia and all these things to back you up, so you need to stick the memory into your brain. So the ability to kind of have an understanding of what the CEO does on a day-to-day basis and what he or she wants is extremely important for a marketer. Because in essence, if you think about it, marketing brings the money in and the CEO gets to make the choice of who gets the money. And all businesses still have resources, land, labour, capital, you're still fighting for allocation. So knowing what the CEO wants and making sure you're on the same page means that your job is a lot safer. That's really what you need to be mindful of. On the other flip side, remember ethics and morals, make sure that your CEO is a good person. If they're bad, they may also actually push you under the bus when it hits the fan. So don't think just because you're finishing soon that the learning will stop. right? The learning will actually increase. So the assumption is that you are reading outside of the room. You're reading, you know, if you have an interest in, I don't know, what industry does someone want to go into? Fashion? Okay. So if you want to go into fashion, that means you should have an understanding of, say, fast fashion and the Zara production line, and why does Zara have 52 seasons a year? And then on the flip side, what's the issue of, you know, the ethical problems of creating so much clothing that it's kind of killing the earth, and how clothing is dyed in India and how that dye goes back into the ocean. So all those things mean that if you have an understanding, you can sit there and you know, walk into a store and chat with someone and go, oh, what about this and this? TED videos are great. I like TED videos because they're quite short. So I say to people, start with TED, go into that. Then start looking at the people who run the corporation to get an understanding of how they look at the world, and then that's who you hit and say, hey, can I come into the office in Sydney and work for a little bit for free, just to get an understanding and get my foot in the door. So in a nutshell, yeah, you know, definitely data is there. You need to be creative, technology is there, but it's also now your social brand. So for example, I say to people, if you all logged into your Facebook page and let me go through it front to back, would you be happy? Because that's what companies do. So there are companies in the US, they basically go through Facebook, they scrape it every day, they get an understanding of what you are, and it's like red light, you know, yellow light, green light, and in a nutshell, you know, about a third of the people who apply for work don't get it because of what they have on social media. So it's not just Facebook, but it's also Instagram, you know, all the stuff that we use. If you're building your portfolio of being a kind of a brand, that's the first place they look. So you need to be extremely careful of what you say. Don't say stupid shit on the internet. It will come back and bite you in 20 to 30 years' time. Don't put dumb photos up. They will come up, because if I'm going for the same job as you and there was some random photo that you've put up, I will use that against you in the interview to sit there and go, do you want this person to be the photo of the corporation? So when I came back as a director of the AMI, they paid a company to go through and scrape my whole social media presence online from day one to go, has Nicholas done some random stuff that we should be concerned about? So as you won't have it really happen at the grad level, but it happens very quickly as you start to move up, because hiring the wrong person gets really expensive very quickly. So you need to be mindful. All right? I'm not saying don't have anything online, but think of yourself as a brand purely online. And it used to be, you know, alcohol was the big thing for companies. You know, if you were seen out there with 2 drinks on a photo on Facebook, they were like, oh, this person's really bad, we can't hire them. Right? Companies woke up and they've moved on. Then again, you should be very mindful of what you do as well. What they've now moved to is anything that's not PC. So you have a bad comment that is not seen as PC, and that kills you instantly. So your social media presence as a brand is super important. It's different if you're someone like, you know, Gary Vee. You can say what you want because you have money in the bank and you are your own brand, and he actually builds that around his own brand on purpose, right? If you're Tim Ferriss, you know, Tim Ferriss has got $100 million in the bank. Tim Ferriss can talk to you about random crazy stuff. He doesn't need someone to pay him to go to work. If you're in that mindset, different mindset. If you're an employee, you need to be very careful of what you're doing. So, you know, people were asking before, what's changing for skill sets? That's kind of currently what companies are looking for. You know, it's all the normal stuff, and it's the EQ stuff. So it's the ability to work with people from different cultures, make that connection, still do the work, absolutely, but your teams will become more project-based, where what will happen is you'll start to work on projects, and then you'll go work with different projects and people with different parts of the world very, very quickly. So this EQ is extremely important. So what are some of the things you need to do? Okay, think of your attitude. So if I'm saying to you work for free and your first gut instinct is absolutely not, then you need to change that, realistically. And you will probably volunteer doing stuff for the rest of your life because you just have to. You still need to be on all the time, but I think there's also a limit to work-life balance as well. So you need to find something that if you love doing it, you will happily do it 24/7 and it won't feel like work, because then you kind of find that passion